Hello and welcome to today's episode of Two Tickets Please. I'm Nalin, your friend and host of the show. Fun fact about me, I strongly believe I could have made it big in the sporting world. If only I had, the athleticism and talent to do so. But since that didn't work out, I do the next best thing, which is to watch sports. And today we're diving into the action-packed world of cricket as we break down the first test of the ongoing Border-Gavaskar Trophy and gear up for the second match in the series between India and Australia. So with some fun insights, a bit of banter, and a whole lot of cricket talk, we've got everything you need to get you ready for the next round of this epic showdown. Speaking of epic, we have two epic guests entering the chat today. So first, we have someone whom I perceive to have a very fair and calm demeanor, but he's also incredibly passionate about the game. So the way I think of him is he's kind of like an umpire. So welcome to the show, Vivek.
Thank you, Nalin. Thank you so much.
And our second guest is the human personification of an exclamation mark. She is
Wow.
She is super engaged in what happens on the field, but equally curious about off-field events and players' lives. So where I might use Cricinfo to know more about a player, she uses Instagram. Welcome to the show, Geetu.
Thank you. Keen to bring the vibes.
So since today we're going to be talking about cricket, I wanted to just on the outset ask you both, why do you watch cricket? Like, what is interesting? Why do you love watching cricket? And which team do you support?
Yes, I think like it brings all the thrill, all the suspense. Like every ball has something different story. With the T20 cricket coming up, like it's very fast moving game. Anything can happen. And like I personally like Test cricket the most, and
Okay.
it can change within a few overs, and like every session has a different story. So like that
Yes.
that that is something I really enjoy. Like some of my friends say that it's not the game for today's generation, but I would say like I'm old school, and like I would definitely be sticking with the Test cricket. So yes, definitely it brings all the thrill, suspense, and yes, whatnot. So yeah,
Absolutely. And I agree with you 100%. Test cricket, I think, is the true form of cricket, and everything else
exactly.
is just
Yes,
the masala express version.
right, exactly.
Um,
I couldn't agree with Vivek more. In our household, the the main saying, especially from my dad, was like Test cricket is the truest form and the purest form of cricket. And that's been drilled into me since I was growing up. So, Test cricket's on the TV, we're invested, we're watching. And I think for me, cricket really embodies that connection I had with my dad because he was so passionate about it.
Yeah.
mhm.
And I'm really grateful that today that is something we can connect on as well. Um, so it extends beyond that. It's the sport, but it's also, something that connects me to my dad. And then also being an Indian fan, and I'm sure we'll get into that.
Okay, yes. So, Geetu, just to clarify, of course, I know this already, but the main team that you support is India, and that's the same for you, Vivek.
Definitely, yes, India. Yeah.
I wanted to just review what happened in the first test match. Before starting the series, there was a lot of speculation, of course, of what to expect. India had just come off of 0-3 whitewash at home to New Zealand, which was quite nerve-wracking for any
Yeah.
Indian fan,
Mortifying.
right? And I mean, I don't think that's happened in many, many, many years. So,
Definitely, yeah.
given how they performed against Bangladesh before that,
Yeah.
we were quite surprised that India didn't win even one test match. And it just raised the stakes for this series because the World Test Championship qualification is on the line. Only two teams can make it, and India and Australia are the top two. But for India to be assured of a place in that final, they have to win at least 4-0.
Yeah.
Winning 4-0 in Australia, I mean, that's a tough task to
It's a
ask of
big task.
anyone.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
So there was, I think, a lot of build-up coming into this test match. Also with some key players unavailable. So Rohit Sharma unavailable for India. Shubman
Yeah.
Gill was injured a few days before the match as well, which meant India had to bring in some debutants.
Yeah.
And I think just in general, the Border-Gavaskar Trophy has a lot of intensity to it. I think especially over the last 15 to 20 years, it's become one of those pinnacle rivalries
It's a
between India and Australia.
legacy rivalry.
People have started
Absolutely.
comparing it with Ashes, like it's that kind of
I
intensity.
agree.
Yeah, I mean, it's played at that level. I think
Yeah.
fans are just as passionate about this series as they are about the Ashes.
The Ashes.
Definitely, yeah.
Most of the time when India and Australia do play, it's a 4-match test series.
Yeah.
And I was looking at some of the results over the past decade, and I realized that the last time Australia won the BGT series was in 2014-2015.
Oh.
And that was in Australia. So it's been 10 years. And since then, every time they've played 4 matches, the results have always been 2-1 in India's favor.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. It brings a level of confidence, I think, for India. They should take some confidence coming into this. But that said, this is a 5-match series. It's a long tour for them. And there's a lot on the line. So let's just quickly go over what happened in the match. So India batted first. They were rolled up for 150 on day one. So I remember waking up day one, checking the score. I think it was maybe 6 or 7 in the morning. And the score was 91 for 6.
Oh.
And I remember thinking, this is not worth waking up for. And I went back to sleep. What were your reactions on that first morning?
Yeah, I actually watched first 20 overs live. So I woke up at around 1:45. The match was supposed to start at 2:20 UK time. So I watched first 20 overs. India was 3 down, and I was like completely disappointed. I was like
Jeez.
hoping we should reach at least 200, but yes, 150 was a very, very low score. But a very good comeback by our bowlers, like the way Bumrah bowled in the first inning, like he was on top of his game, like picking like all Australia were all out for 104, so it was
Yeah.
a good lead of 46 runs, yeah, which helped us to get the confidence.
Yeah, and quite a great turnaround, because I think
Yeah.
when we got all out for 150 there, I'm going to say we because I'm identifying as India here.
Yeah.
When India got all out for 150,
Yeah.
I think, it would have been fair to assume that a lot of us were expecting the worst.
Yeah.
But yeah, you're right. I think that the bowling really turned it around, and Bumrah, who I think will feature in a lot of our conversation today,
Yeah.
Oh,
really, really led the team there.
Go. So
And
good.
then in the second innings, India came back to bat, and this time they posted a mammoth score, 487 for 6 declared, with Jaiswal scoring 161 as a part of a great partnership with KL Rahul, who also made 77. And then the king returned to the throne and got a
81st.
century in Perth.
Yeah, 81st career century. Yeah.
Oh.
And what a time to get it. In
Yeah.
Australia, we know Kohli loves batting in Australia. And I think the stage was set for him to come back and get these runs, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yes, it was. And I think he has some obsession with Perth. Last time he scored a century in Perth as well in 2018. So yeah,
Yep.
he's always
Unfinished
full of runs.
business.
Yeah.
That's true. And a lot of people, a lot of the commentators on air were making remarks to suggest that this could be Virat Kohli's last test tour to Australia.
Yeah.
I mean, remains to be seen, but I don't think India's touring again to Australia for at least 4 or 5 years, maybe.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it could possibly be his final series here. So it would be wonderful for him to really have a good series here, get a lot of runs,
Exactly.
just to sort of cap off his legacy.
Yeah, and it was also good to see KL Rahul scoring because he's under the
So
scans every
true.
time. Very good player, like he has everything, but yes, every time he's under the scan, and I think he's very good for the longer formats, be it test matches or
Hmm.
ODIs. But he's the one who has to sacrifice most of the time for someone else. But yes, it was good to see him scoring as well.
And to add to that, I felt that, he's also because Rohit Sharma was away, he had to
Yeah,
step into that,
right. Yes.
opening partnership. So
Yeah,
really kudos to him for being so agile. Typically
exactly.
that's not the position he comes into.
Yeah.
So you're so right. I think he needs due credit, I think, for KL Rahul after this test match for sure.
And then coming back, Australia was set a target of 534 runs to chase down in the fourth innings. And, well, they just didn't get even anywhere close. They wrapped up for 238. And it was a pretty early dent in their chase. They lost, I think, 3 or 4 wickets pretty early, and
Yeah,
Three.
three
it
wickets.
just
Yeah.
they weren't really able to bounce back from there, were they?
Not
Yeah.
at all.
It was a good declaration call, I believe. India like asked them to bat for around 40 minutes for the end of day three's play, and yes, then it was a big surprise for me to see Pat Cummins coming as a night watchman.
Right?
He was out like very soon, and then like good banter happened between Siraj and Labuschagne, and then in the next over,
Hmm.
Bumrah took him. So yeah,
Took him out.
it was amazing.
So, what are your thoughts? And that's an interesting point that you brought up, Vivek,
Yeah.
with Pat Cummins coming in. So, end of day, I think we're talking about end of day three here.
Yeah.
India's just posted this mammoth score. I think there's probably about 20 or 30 minutes to bat.
Yeah,
So we're talking perhaps 10 overs, not even, probably not more
Not
than 10 overs.
even. Yeah.
exactly.
And Pat Cummins coming out at number 3 as a night watchman. What are your takes on it? Do you think that is, it's a smart move because you want to protect your other batter, or do you think that it feels like maybe that other batter doesn't have the right confidence to come in?
Yeah, I think like Australia on the whole were maybe a bit underconfident this time because of the batting.
Mm.
Because I feel with the new debutant who is opening for them, so I
Hmm.
don't think so they were fully up to the mark with batting. And yes, I don't think so. It was a smart move of Cummins coming up because maybe that could have saved maybe two more wickets if Labuschagne would have come one down, and he is definitely a good player. But yes, like he was under pressure of two
Hmm.
wickets and then a very good ball by Bumrah. So yeah, I don't think so. It was it was a smart move. No.
Yeah, and Labuschagne has been short of runs in
Yeah.
the recent past, so perhaps there, as you said, there was a lack of confidence from him as well.
Yeah.
Because I think confident players would not let a night watchman go ahead of them.
Exactly.
They would take the challenge on. So yeah, interesting
Hmm.
choices, I guess. There in this case, I don't think it panned out for Australia.
Yeah.
I want to talk about some of the key turning points that shaped the match. So the first thing that I remember was KL Rahul's dismissal in the first innings. It was pretty
Yeah.
controversial. He
Exactly.
was looking quite good at the crease. He was batting well, and then
Yeah.
this I think it was an LBW appeal, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Uh,
Overturned, right?
so the umpire gave it not out on the field,
Yeah.
and when it went up to the third umpire, they overturned it. And there
Yeah.
was a lot of controversy around whether there was conclusive evidence. Did either of you watch that, and what did you think?
I didn't watch it in real time, but yes, I saw the replays and so much of talks on social media. Definitely, like if there is no conclusive evidence, the like player can't be given out, and it was given not out by the on-field umpire. So yes, definitely
Mm.
there has to be some 100% evidence to give that out. So yeah, I would always give that not out if I'm the
Yeah.
umpire there. Yeah.
And we want to trust the on-field umpire's call in those moments
Yeah.
of,
Exactly.
inconclusive evidence. So,
Yeah.
Well, there you have it, everyone. The ruling from our panel of umpires is that that was not out, but we don't have the technology in front of us, so it really doesn't matter what we say, I guess. The other moment on day one, which I think really set the tone for India, was Jasprit Bumrah's spell.
Yeah.
Coming in, second half of the day, India hasn't posted a great total. And for Bumrah, as the captain, to come in and lead from the front, he took 3 wickets in that spell. At one point, he was even on a hat trick.
Yeah.
Phenomenal stuff. It just seemed like they couldn't play him.
Yeah, I think he's at the peak of his career. I mean, whatever format he plays, wherever he play in the world, like we saw very good bowling in the T20 World Cup last year, in the ODI World Cup as well. So he's kind of king of like all the formats now, as people say to Virat Kohli, he's the king of batting. So I would say Bumrah definitely deserves this in the bowling department. He's doing and anything he do is he's doing it very well.
And anything he touches just turns into gold for Team India, right?
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
we are very much in the Bumrah era, and we're here for it.
It's very good to see like Indians are known for fast bowling now because there was an era where like we didn't had that much of a
True.
good fast bowlers. So now we have a kind of pace battery like Bumrah, Siraj, Shami. Shami is injured unfortunately, but yes,
Yeah.
plenty of options we have now.
We haven't even talked about Bumrah as the captain,
Exactly.
I
Yes.
mean, I think I don't know. I think we're backing him. We're excited to see him step
Yeah.
into this leadership position. I think he's got the fans like tick of approval, um, which is exciting. I think it's going to be a really, really interesting era for
Yeah.
Indian cricket.
And he's very likable as a person, as a
Yeah.
character. And I think that contributes a lot, especially when someone is the Indian captain. They're representing that team, they're representing their country. I think, likability is huge. The way that they speak in the press, the way that they speak about their teammates, I think it shows a lot of character. And I think, it sets a good example for the rest of the team when
Exactly.
Bumrah is leading this way. Speaking of Indian fast bowlers, I think over the years, when you think of some of the greats, you think of Kapil Dev, you might think of Javagal Srinath, you think of Zahir Khan.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you think Jasprit Bumrah is the greatest Indian fast bowler?
I would say yes, definitely, because
Mm-hmm.
I've not seen that much of Javagal Srinath, and obviously not for Kapil Dev. Zahir Khan was definitely one of the like great before
Mm-hmm.
Bumrah, but yes, at this point of time, considering all the formats and like the variations he have, and like whatever he does turns out like kind of gold. So yes, I would definitely say Bumrah is uh, yeah, one of the greatest fast bowlers India has ever produced. Yeah.
I guess to validate that, he is currently the number one test bowler,
Yeah.
number one ranked test bowler in the world.
Yeah.
So I think the numbers are also proving our point here of him being as great as we think he is. There was also, I think, for India, another key moment, or rather a key partnership, was between Yashasvi Jaiswal and KL Rahul. Phenomenal. I mean, 200 plus runs they scored as an opening partnership. How would you feel if you were in the Australian bowling lineup and
Oh
you're
my
coming in
God.
over after over, bowling to these guys, and they're just not
Exactly.
getting out? I mean, what does that do to their confidence?
Yeah, I was just saying like with Yashasvi Jaiswal, like he's playing his first test match in Australia, and like scoring 161. So yeah, definitely commendable. Like I don't think so many players have done it. He's just the third or fourth player overall to score 100 plus runs in Australia on a debut match. So
Wow.
definitely, and yes, for KL Rahul, as we were discussing, he's always under scans. Like he has to sacrifice his place for anyone else, and like it was a great knock. And yes, a bad dismissal on the first inning as well, but he
Hmm.
proved himself in the
That's it.
second inning. Yeah.
One of my favorite moments of the game was when Yashasvi Jaiswal perks up to Mitchell Stark and he's like, "It's coming too slow." Can you just imagine?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, and he's new to the scene, but I think there's a lot to be said about how Yashasvi Jaiswal has performed. I was looking into his scoring just in this year, just in 2024. This guy has hit 350s, 400s, and two double hundreds, and just in this 1 year. And the other thing again to say about him is that he is currently the number 2 ranked Test batter
Oh,
in the world, in the
Wow.
men's cricket, of course. So
yeah.
just behind Joe Root. So that speaks volumes of being included in that league.
Definitely.
It means India's got quite a weapon at the top, isn't it?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other, I think, key turning point for India was Bumrah and Siraj's bowling at the end of day 3.
Yeah.
So India's just posted a mammoth total, and they've got 10 overs or so to bowl at the Australians. And I think the way they turned it on, both of them, it was exactly what a fan would have asked for, wasn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Siraj building the pressure on one side and Bumrah taking the wickets. That's
Yes.
the bowlers partnership.
Yeah.
I love that.
Do you think Bumrah makes Siraj a better bowler? So the reason I'm asking this is, I think we've seen some real highlights of Siraj's bowling. Especially I remember in ODIs, the way he bowled to Sri Lanka,
Yeah.
basically decimated that lineup. In the recent past, I think some questions were raised on whether he's been overworked or whether he's still, whether he's got good form at the moment. But then you come and see him bowling, the over, after, and around Bumrah, and it just seems like he seems a lot more threatening. And do you think that there's an effect here of when he bowls alongside Bumrah, he becomes a better bowler as well?
Yes, definitely. Whenever he is bowling with Bumrah, he's on a different energy. And yes, again, like he has something with Australia as well, because the last time he played the Border-Gavaskar Trophy, he took good wickets in couple of matches. So yes, definitely. And yes, anyone who is bowling with Bumrah, the confidence will definitely go up because, like we often say, the partnership is when two players are batting, but I would always say a partnership is also when two bowlers are bowling. So if there is a pressure on one end, so the second bowler will definitely be on high energy. So yeah.
From Australia's perspective, I think there was one moment which I remember following and thinking, "Oh, what's happening here?" And that was the partnership between Travis Head and Mitchell Marsh.
Yeah.
I think, like many Indians, we were all
The
triggered by the ODI World Cup
curse.
trauma. Travis Head at the crease. What can we do? This guy's gonna take this match away. That's what I thought. But it was a good partnership. I think it was a good counter
Yeah.
attack,
Yeah.
and it kept them from being wiped out in a much larger
Hanging
way.
in.
Yes, it gave them a fighting chance.
Yeah.
I think there was just way too much to do, and I think if your top order doesn't fire, then it's hard to score 500 plus runs to
At that
chase the
point,
test down.
for sure.
Exactly. And Bumrah's celebration after taking Travis Head's wicket, like it said everything.
Yeah, he celebrated for 1.2 billion
Yeah.
Oh
Indians
my
there.
gosh.
Everyone wants. I think every Indian wants Travis Head to be out unless he's playing in the IPL. Then everyone wants Travis Head to keep batting.
Depends on who you're supporting.
That's true. Depends on who you're supporting. I almost liken it a little bit to how Australia used to view VVS Lakshman. There was a time where VVS Lakshman used to just score runs and runs against Australia specifically. I remember a remark from one Australian player at the time was, "How do we get him out? We can't get him out." And he was just scoring centuries in all formats. So I think that's the same thing. Travis Head loves playing against India. He always scores runs against India as well. And I think it makes a good contest. Whilst
That's
there's
true.
a lot of traumatic memories, it's a good contest for sure.
It's like this collective dread which he thrives on. He's like, yes, I feel you. I feel the heat come.
Yeah. The difference is, though, I think with the early 2000s Australian team, a lot of those players who were incredibly, skillful and talented, you might have also had a reason to not like them. Someone like a Matthew Hayden was not liked by many other countries,
Yeah.
mainly because of his mannerisms, but that's
Yeah.
not the case with Travis Head. He plays well, but you can't dislike the guy.
No.
He's a nice guy. He always
Yeah.
seems really friendly. So, it's an interesting character, I think, in the sort of film that's unfolding for this series. And last thing, it was not a turning point as such, but I just wanted to call out Dhruv Jurel's catch. Mitchell Starc was batting, popped it off the bat, and Dhruv Jurel was at short leg and just took this amazing reflex catch. I thought that was a key moment in the last innings as well. I mean, you don't see those all the time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Great spotlight on him as well,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and he's been in the Test team for a few matches now, and let's see. I mean, he's being picked as solely a batter. Otherwise, he also keeps, but because Rishabh Pant is in the team, he's not needed as a keeper. So it'll be interesting to see if he can put the numbers and the runs behind his case for continuous selection.
Yeah.
The good thing with him is like he scores quickly. Like if he's there for maybe 10-15 overs, he'll just go out on the bowlers. Same like Rishabh Pant. If these two guys are playing, we can have some good runs in quick time.
Yeah, that's true. Can you think of any funny moments from this match that you think was worth mentioning?
No run!
Yes.
We love Labuschagne, and it was just amazing. He's like, what, 2 for 52? Or something ridiculous like that, and every ball is like, no run!
And
Yeah.
Geetu pointed out when Jaiswal saying it to Stark, it is coming slow. So that talks about the confidence of the guy. So yeah, amazing.
Honestly.
Yeah.
For sure. The other moment was Mitchell Starc, who's batting, and Harshit Rana is bowling to him. And Mitchell Starc says to him, I think he tries to sledge him by saying, "Oh, I bowl faster than you. I have a long memory." So that in itself, I know they're teammates from Kolkata Knight Riders from the past IPL season. So that in itself was funny. But then what happened, I think, 2 or 3 balls later was Mitchell Starc gets hit on the helmet by Harshit Rana delivering. So he kind of had to eat his own words there. One thing that really I found amusing was Marnus Labuschagne coming out to bowl bouncers.
Yeah.
I mean, I knew that he kind of bowls pace, and maybe in the domestic scene he's done that, but we've never seen him do that properly in the international level. And then for him to come out and bowl 135 and start bowling bouncers, it's like, where did you come from, mate? Your job was to bat. Like, what are you doing here?
Yeah, we are already having tough time with the fast bowlers, and you're adding one more.
Literally.
Another funny moment. I think this happened on the final day 4. So it's towards the end of the Australian innings, and Josh Hazlewood is batting, and he gets hit on the helmet by one of the balls. It was a bouncer, and normally, the bowler might apologize and things like that. But the last person you would see rushing forward to care for him is Virat Kohli. But in this case, he rushes forward to check that his now new RCB teammate, who got bought in the auction the night before, is okay. I thought that was...
It's fit for play.
Exactly.
That's right. And I just, at that moment, you understand, money can talk. IPL
Where the
definitely
alliances are.
That's right. IPL definitely has a say on what happens in other places too.
I thought it would be poignant to circle back to our conversation on Labuschagne and the role that he had to play. And, when you think about how Australia fared in this test, you could really feel the absence of Cam Green, who, has this like really kind of fierce presence as a bowler, backing your Hazelwood, your Stark, your Cummins.
Yeah.
And then, Green really like kind of cements the attack, I feel. And this time we just felt really flat with Labuschagne arriving to the crease, and you're like, okay, you're not posing that threat, which I think Cam Green brings to the bowling attack. So, yeah, you could really feel that they missed him.
Sure. Yeah. I suppose the player that they brought in to replace Cam Green would have been Mitch Marsh, who also didn't really seem to be threatening as a bowler in this match.
Yeah, fair.
And so, which is why perhaps Labuschagne's services needed to be employed.
And
no
suddenly he
effect,
started bowling the leg spin as well. So...
Yes, that's true. He's a jack of all trades. Yeah, he's a character for sure. He's a character. All right, so quickly, let's just do a quick analysis of India's performance and Australia's performance. So for India, I think we spoke about Bumrah, and I think we can all agree that
I'm only believe on Jasprit because game changer player is only one guy, is Jasprit Bumrah.
One thing I was curious about was Washington Sundar's selection ahead of Ashwin and Jadeja. Was that a surprise to either of you?
I think they wanted that lefty and righty combination. That might be the only case. I think he was given a preference. And when we talk about the playing 11, I think they won't let him continue in the second test, and I believe they can bring up another seamer. Like they can go with all fast bowler strength. And maybe someone like Akashdeep can come in place of Sundar. So, yeah, I think the only reason could be because of the lefty-righty combination.
Any thoughts on Nitish Kumar Reddy?
He's good. I think I remember before the series started, people wanted Hardik Pandya to be the part of this squad because we were really missing on one of the good all-rounders. But I think Nitish was very good with the bat. He had a good partnership in the first inning with Pant, which was very crucial, and then some quick runs in the second innings as well. And he's a handy fast bowler as well. So. I think he should play maybe most of the test matches going forward as well.
And then I think a note on Virat Kohli. So in Bumrah's famous words, he said, I think at the end of this test match, that Virat Kohli doesn't need us, we need him.
Yeah.
And of course, we spoke about him getting 100. It was nice to see him get runs. I wanted to ask about, the process of him getting to his 100. India was pretty much ready to declare. And it seemed like a message had been sent out to the middle that, okay, we've got to start bowling, so hurry up, get 100.
Wrap it up, mate.
Exactly. Now, what do you think of this approach? Do you think it's a bit too gratuitous to delay a declaration for the sake of an individual's milestone?
Ideally, it should not be the case. Like we all are playing for the country, and when it is about the team. So yeah, definitely teams motive and whatever the management is deciding that should be the first priority. But I think with the case of Virat Kohli, they must be giving him an opportunity to score as many hundreds as he can, because for some period, like in last couple of years, he hadn't had much of the hundreds and individual scores. So I think that could be the only reason. I remember one of the test match where Rahul Dravid was the captain and Sachin was at 194, and immediately he called for the declaration. But you can expect that from only Rahul Dravid, because he's a different personality altogether. So
and he has since apologized for that in public. Yeah. And it's an interesting point, because whilst that may seem like, oh, this is fan service, maybe we're just trying to give the fans what they want by giving Kohli to make his 100. I think there's something to be said about this is the first match of a 5-match series, and you want Kohli to feel high. You want him to feel confident about scoring. You want him to tick this box of him being out of form or in form. Like him scoring 100 gives him that level of ease of, okay, I can bat, I can score runs. And I think it's almost like an investment into Kohli's form for the rest of the series. So I think on that front, there was merit to it. Of course, there was probably, India didn't need those extra runs. But
Yeah.
it worked out for all of us. So happy days.
Yeah. And also for the broadcasters, everyone is selling Kohli.
Yes.
100%.
So Kohli is the face, like wherever there is some advertisement of any series or maybe ICC event. So
Yes,
he's
true.
everywhere. So broadcasters needs runs from Virat Kohli.
Absolutely. We had the
Yeah.
privilege of time in this test
Hmm.
match too.
Yeah.
So you're absolutely right. If, there is an opportunity here to make one of your players kind of like feel confident, then
Yeah.
that investment is crucial.
Hmm.
Exactly.
Now, moving to Australia, the top order of Australia seems to be a major worry. In this match, across both innings, the top four batsmen scored 29 runs in total. That's a pretty harsh statistic
Yeah.
to go up against them. I mean, what do you guys think? Do you think that's the major area of focus for Australia moving forward?
Yeah, I think so. Like that is not the Australia we know. Like top
Not at
orders, not
all.
not scoring runs, and yes, Smith getting out on the Golden Duck in first inning. So yes, I mean he's the main guy. He and Labuschagne and those two are short of runs. So definitely, it was evident like they were underconfident and sending Pat Cummins as a night watchman. So yeah, everything kind
Yeah.
of linked with these things. So
Yeah.
yeah, but batting is definitely a concern, and with Indian fast bowling firing up, so yes, it would be an interesting second test match as well.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
important to note that this isn't an occurrence that's new. So I was
yeah,
looking at the Australian batting performance since David Warner's retired.
yeah.
I looked at how many runs the top four have scored, and the top four have scored 11% of Australia's test runs since Warner's retirement. I mean, that's just not good enough.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can't win test matches
Yeah.
with 11%, right?
And I think Warner with Usman Khwaja, that was a very good combination as well because
Iconic.
yeah, we talk about partnerships. So Warner used to
Of
ease the
course.
pressure at one end, and then Khwaja used to defend and like play till long. So yeah, that gives him confidence as well.
You could see Khwaja not really feeling or finding that rhythm
Yes.
because of McSweeney. And it's
Yeah.
really tough because McSweeney, I think, has come into a very, like, a tough and a hard place.
Yeah.
Like the poor guy, he's just debuting. I
Exactly.
think we're not expecting, a miracle from him, but equally, if he has to take the first ball with Bumrah coming in, I mean, that is an impossible situation. And I think it doesn't instill confidence. You're hoping that maybe like I can't remember. Did David Warner typically open the batting or take strike, or was it Khwaja usually? Because I felt like maybe Khwaja in this instance could have opened or could have started
Mm.
the batting or taken strike.
Second strike. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that opening pair, since Warner's retirement, that opening pair has been very unstable. Steve Smith volunteered to come up and
Bless
open the
him.
innings for Australia. Yeah, and some might say he did that because perhaps he was nervous about whether he could keep his position at four. He wasn't getting as many runs as we expected Steve Smith to, so he thought maybe if he comes as an opener, he could be more indispensable to the team.
Change it up,
Sadly,
yeah.
he basically failed as an opener. He couldn't score runs at the top either. And so just before this series, he was brought back down to the number 4 spot, which I think he generally belongs better at. Whether or not, that was his choice is a different story. And also then there was that whole episode of David Warner essentially volunteering to come out of retirement should
Yeah.
Australia need him to.
There's a case for it.
Well, seemingly, I mean, I think Pat Cummins, when interviewed in an interview, was asked about the prospect of David Warner returning and was quite clear about David Warner wishing him good luck for the BBL. so I think Warner's found himself a good seat in the commentary box and
Yes.
Yeah.
won't feature on the pitch as a batsman. But Yeah, I think it'll be interesting to see if McSweeney can get going because, as you said, he's come into a tough position here. And it does seem like Australia is aware of this as a failing of their team.
Yeah.
Josh
Yeah.
Hazelwood did make these statements at the end of day 3, suggesting that the blame has to sort of sit with the batters. The bowlers have kind of done their job, and the batters need to pull up their own weight. So it's possible that some work will be done here, and I hope I'd like to see a good contest, and I hope Australia can find some groove in their top 4 because it's just sad to see it, right?
Guess who's gonna put the black curtains up during net sessions now?
Oh yes, yes, that's true. That's true.
Should have done it. They mocked us.
Yeah, and I just wonder, by we're seeing the Australian batting struggle. The Australian bowling doesn't have the same spice and zip that we have come to expect, and I just wonder if Australia has played enough Test cricket. They've played a lot of T20. A lot of them have played in the IPL. They've played ODIs. But before this series, the last time Australia played Test cricket was in March, and that was in a 2-match series against New Zealand. So, they're coming back to Test cricket after 7-8 months. That's a huge gap.
Yeah, when you put it like that, you could tell this team was out of practice. They lacked the synergy that you would expect an Australian team to bring.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you would think about the fervor they would come to the Ashes with. And, like we spoke about BGT being kind of a legacy tournament.
Yeah.
I think they'll really be reevaluating, and some big hard reflections, I think, are happening as we speak.
Yeah, definitely they will come back hard. Like Australia, it's in their blood, so definitely
Honestly,
they'll come 10 times strong, and they know that
I am scared.
they know that be it the venue, Adelaide, and the pink ball test, like they are the masters of it. So definitely
Yes.
they'll come out very hard in the next match. Yeah, it would be a tough time definitely for India.
Yeah, and I mean, whilst we are Indian supporters, Geetu, you and I are also Australians, and we
This is
know
true.
the dialogue and the discourse around cricket in Australia, and we know that Australian media will be holding the team to account very strictly.
Ripping them apart is what's happening as we speak, and I think what's been quite interesting following the Australian media has been, really. The Australian team hasn't given the media much to criticize in their performance just generally, and I think this has been that opportunity, and everyone's just unleashed. They're like, wanting to rip into the team. There's strong criticism, and it's unhinged, some of the suggestions.
Okay, I want to put you both on the spot. If you were the editor for a sports column, what would your headline be after this match?
Jasprit Bumrah bamboozled Australian batting lineup.
Excellent.
Yes.
I love the alliteration. That's absolutely on point. So, looking ahead, we know that India is going to play a 3-day tour match in Canberra. And I think that'll be a really good opportunity for some players like Rohit Sharma and potentially Mohammad Shami, if I heard that he might be joining the team. So if he is, then for them to get match practice will be quite nice. Although we could argue and say that Australia needs more match practice, but that's coming up. And then of course after that there'll be, as you said, Vivek, the Adelaide Test, the pink ball test. So what do you think are the changes the teams need to make ahead of that test match?
I think Rohit Sharma would be definitely straight away coming up in the playing 11. So obvious swap would be with Devdutt Padikkal. That is the likely swap I can think of. And like as I said earlier, I think they should bring up Akashdeep as well instead of Washington Sundar, because I don't think so pink ball would be much of like favorable to spin, and like knowing the Adelaide pitch, it would be like fast, and I think it should suit Akashdeep's bowling style. So
Yeah, right.
These are the probable two changes I can think of in the playing 11.
It seems pretty unconventional for India to not pick a spinner, though. I don't think
Yes.
they generally go
Yeah.
with that format. So it'll be interesting if they go with an all-out pace attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we're gonna see here the adaptability of KL Rahul, who will probably have to return back
Yes.
to number 3 as
Number
well.
3.
So,
Yeah.
I hope that I'm naturally there will be some talks and plans for his role at number 3. But like really hopeful that he can cope and then be agile.
So is it clear? Maybe I might have missed this, but is Shubman Gill definitely not fit enough to play in the second match?
We didn't even think about that actually.
Yeah, I heard a comment from the Indian physio. I think he said that he's still not match ready, and I think he'll be missing the warm-up match just before the test match. So maybe they won't risk him for the next match and maybe bring him for the third test match then. Yeah.
Right. So that'll be an interesting thing, because this test match could also be kind of like an audition for either KL Rahul or Dhruv Jurel to keep their spot in the team should Shubman Gill be fit to return after that. So I think they will definitely feel, the need
under the
to score.
pump.
Yeah, absolutely. We spoke about Australia's batting woes. Labuschagne's form has been, I think, quite questionable. But the strange part is, it doesn't seem like there's anyone really there to replace him.
Yeah, I don't think so. They have anyone in the squad as well. They've just announced a team of 13, I think, and I can't remember who is the extra batsman they have. And I don't think so. They will risk removing him from the 11. So they most probably will be going with the same 11 for the next test.
And I think Pat Cummins reflected on that after the game, that they aren't actually doubting their team. I think they'll very much be playing the team as it is.
I mean, they do have Josh Inglis in the squad.
Okay.
So, he's a wicketkeeper batter. Of course, I don't think they're considering replacing Alex Carey.
No.
But, if they wanted more batting power and if one of the batters was not serving the purpose, then perhaps he would be the option. But I don't think he's the number 3. So I think for now, Labuschagne will keep his spot.
Probably.
Harshit Rana, he got some wickets in this first match. Likely to play again in the second. What do you guys think?
It was again a surprise pick, like Akashdeep playing all the test matches at home, and suddenly Harshit makes a debut. But he was good. Like he has pace and he's a tall, fast bowler. So yeah, definitely was a good pick. But yes, surprisingly, picking him instead of Akashdeep was a bit a tricky decision.
This second test match, we know it's a day-night test.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, I think it's the only day-night test that happens on a regular basis around the world. And that does mean that there'll be some sessions, especially around sunset, which will be a little bit harder to bat. Getting used to the pink ball will be an adjustment for India, because they don't play with the pink ball unless they're touring Australia. And the other thing that is going to weigh in Indian fans' minds, and I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, is the 36 all-out that happened in Adelaide. I think the thought and the prospect of that is quite scary. So I think India can't get complacent.
No, especially with how fired up Australia is going to be coming into this test.
Exactly. Yeah. The first thing that comes to the mind is 36, that figure of 36 every time we hear Adelaide and pink ball tests. So and as I said, like they will be coming 10 times more stronger, because it's their strength, and like Australia would want to bounce back in the series because it's their ideal time to come back, and obviously with the WTC final at stake, because they know that their upcoming series is with Sri Lanka in Sri Lanka. That would be another tough challenge, playing Sri Lankan spinners there. Sri Lanka is doing good as well, so anything can happen. So yeah, they just want to come back.
we've talked about the first test. We've talked about the second test. What are your predictions? Second test, what's the result going to be? India winning, Australia winning, draw? What do you guys think?
It's definitely not a draw, I would say. Emotionally, obviously, we'll say India, but I am more towards Australia this time.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Yep.
they'll definitely be like they'll come out strong, and yes, they have a good chance considering all the history and everything and the current series situation. So yeah, I'll predict
Yep.
Australia.
This is one of my superstitions for sure. Like, I cannot preemptively say that India is going to win a game
Okay,
because
sure.
I don't want to jinx
Yeah.
them.
We
So
respect that. We respect that.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Vivek, and let's just put the pencil in Australia. But we'll see.
All right. Fair enough. Fair enough. And we will see for sure. What do you wish would happen? So, is there something you would like to see happen in this second match?
Australia getting 36 all out, 35 all out.
35.
Okay. So, you're expecting them to win after getting 35 all out. All right. Fair enough. I mean, I would like to see Rohit and Kohli both getting heavy, impactful runs.
Yeah.
Nice.
I want them to get meaningful runs as well. I want them to be in positions where they're, in good partnerships. They're scoring the bulk. I think that would be a really good, feather in that cap. I think it would tighten up any sort of doubts that people have around their place in the test team moving forward. And the other thing, this is maybe this is a left of field idea. I would like to see Scott Boland in the Australian team. I would like to see him bowling because I think he's a great bowler. I think he has a lot to bring, and I think he would really strengthen Australia's bowling attack if he could come in. So I'm not sure whose place he would take, but I would like to see him in the team.
Yeah, he gave India a very tough time in the WTC final as well. So
He did.
Now, the most important question is we have several days until the next match. What are you going to do with your life?
Oh.
watch the highlights of first test match.
Yep. Absolutely.
Binge all the social media reels. Deep dive into the comments. That's where all the good stuff is.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, both of you, Geetu and Vivek, for being on the first episode of Two Tickets, Please. And it's been such a fun chat. I didn't even know, time has just flown by. So I had such a great time. And I think it's safe to say that when we get into the thick of it, we all three we love to geek out on all things Indian cricket specifically. So hopefully there's more of these kind of things to come in the future. But thanks so much for both of your time.
Thank you
so much.
And to all of the people listening, if you have any hot takes about the test match, or if there's something we didn't talk about, please tell us in the comments. We'd love to read it and geek out some more. And also like, share, and subscribe so that we can keep doing more of these things. This podcast will be up on YouTube and on Spotify and perhaps other places which we'll eventually find ourselves on. So stay tuned.
Wow.
And everyone gear up for the second match. All right.
Woohoo!
Let's go.
Bye-bye.